Welcome to News and Brews with the Times, where we spill the tea on what's happening in Hall County, Georgia. It's June 30th, 2025. We've got news about a couple of really interesting court cases, a meteorite seen falling from the sky, plans for a new courthouse, and a local Mega Millions winner. Good morning, I'm Shannon Casas.
And I'm Stacy Smith. Of course, it's also July 4th this Friday, and we've got a list of places where you can catch some of the fireworks, so check that out in our show notes. And reporter Ben Anderson is joining us in the studio today to talk about the new laws taking effect July 1st. Ben, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Now, grab your favorite brew and take a sip as we guide you through what's been happening in Hall County. Don't forget, you can also find all the stories we talk about this week online at the link in our show notes.
One of our interesting stories this week is that a Lula man has been complaining about drug activity outside of his store, which is right downtown, and now he is accused of shooting some people outside of his store.
Okay, so what happened here?
He owns Lula Mercantile and Vintage Shop, which is, like I said, it's right downtown on Main Street. And apparently there were a couple of guys outside his shop over at the laundromat right next door, actually. He started having an argument inside the laundromat with somebody and then ended up accused of shooting at this guy outside of the laundromat.
The drug dealer or the business owner?
Someone in the laundromat who was later accused of having drugs, Xanax particularly.
Okay, so not necessarily a drug dealer.
He was accused of possession with the intent to distribute. So yes, drug dealing type charges. But then the guy that he shot at was like crouching behind a car, and he doesn't, at least currently, have any drug charges. But this guy is charged with shooting at people, basically.
If you look at the building in Lula, the Mercantile where his shop is, it looks like an old Western. So it's kind of fitting. I just picture him like going pew pew out the window.
It does look very Lula. And what happened was captured on surveillance video, and then the defense had their own videos as well. And you can see like the flash of the gun going off like 3 times.
That's kind of wild just to go out and shoot at people when you're not in danger.
It sounds like he's been really frustrated with the drug activity and feels like law enforcement has not been addressing it. So one of the investigators was on the stand during this guy's probable cause hearing, and he didn't say a lot about it other than the community has been complaining about drug activity and he's looking into it.
So do we know if anyone was injured? I mean, did he actually hit anybody?
He didn't actually hit the person. This actually just happened in May, and this was his probable cause hearing. So what happens is they start talking about some of the evidence. They don't have a lot of it pulled together yet. This is just kind of is there enough here to move on to Superior Court?
Superior Court is just another term for trial court. So when they say there's enough probable cause, they say, okay, we can send this to trial. Doesn't mean it's going to go to trial, but it goes to that court. And then the judge ultimately decides, okay, there's either probable cause or there's not. Most of the time they decide there is because the bar for probable cause is pretty low.
One of our other cases was not a Superior Court, but it was going to be a trial in the state court. So we had this Gwinnett cop who was up here in Hall County driving and looked down at his in-car terminal and then ran into a moped and killed the guy in front of him.
Oh, gosh.
So that was supposed to go to trial, and then
Wait, you said this was a Gwinnett cop. Did this happen in Hall County?
Yeah, so it happened at McKever, just south of Flat Creek, like not all the way down to West Hall High School.
Oh, I'm very familiar with that area. And when did this happen?
So it was way back in 2022, and it's kind of slowly like moved through the court system. He wasn't going to plead guilty to some of the charges. They were trying to get it reduced basically because he is a cop and he wants, I assume, to keep that career. So he was supposed to go to trial last Monday, but then ended up actually pleading guilty to second-degree vehicular homicide.
Was he on duty? No.
He was in his car, and I think he was looking at the computer and stuff that they have in the car to see like what he had coming up at work that day.
Do we know if he has a history of any kind of traffic-related accidents while on duty?
So between 2012 and 2021, that was some records that we could pull. He had 4 traffic incidents. 2 of them he was at fault. The most recent one was a year before this happened in Hall County, and it was down at the Mall of Georgia, and it was a fender bender, basically.
Oh, goodness. So what's going to happen to him now that he's pleaded guilty?
So he was actually sentenced when you're in state court, apparently the max that you can get is 12 months. And the family of this man who died, like, really wanted him held responsible. Mm-hmm. So he ended up getting sentenced, and 10 days will be spent in jail.
10 days? Definitely
Yes.
a unique case.
So for this particular charge, the judge actually said that typically they don't get any jail time.
Because he's a cop, or?
No. So anybody who gets charged with second-degree vehicular homicide, they typically do not have jail time because it's not intentional, and he wasn't drinking. The only reason he did get 10 days, I think, is because he was looking down. So he got 10 days to serve behind bars, and then he's actually got 60 more days on house arrest. And then the rest of his 12-month sentence is on probation.
Is he still going to be employed at the police department in Gwinnett?
It's unclear right now, but I think probably not, given that he pleaded guilty to this. That hasn't been determined yet, though.
Just a reminder to, pay attention when you're driving and behind the wheel.
Yep, don't look down at your phone or your in-car terminal if you are a cop. A fireball fell from the sky.
A fireball?
Actually, a meteorite.
Oh, technically?
Technically
Are
a
we
meteorite.
assuming, or has that been confirmed?
It struck down actually in Henry County, hit a house.
When did this happen again?
So it was last Thursday, and people in Forsyth County definitely saw it. Our sister paper over there, the Forsyth County News, talked with a few people who had seen it, got photo and video of this like streak of light and flash and fire going through the sky. I don't think anybody in Hall County saw it. I know, Ben, you talked with the sheriff's office and the police department, right?
I think some people in Hall County probably saw it, but the sheriff's office and the Gainesville Police Department said they didn't receive any reports. But it sounds like people in multiple states across the Southeast saw it.
The video that we have was actually submitted to us by someone who captured it on their dash cam. And so I'm just going to use this as an opportunity to remind everyone, send us pictures and videos if you ever see anything crazy happening.
Yeah, and we've got the story posted on our site too, along with that video, and have it on our social channels if you want to check that out. Hall County leaders are looking at building a new courthouse.
A new courthouse. Don't we have one right downtown in the square?
We do. So just off the square on Green Street, you've got the big courthouse with the Superior Court and all like the trial courtrooms, and then the annex next to that where they have juvenile court, and there's some other offices around town as well.
Okay, so why do they want to build a new one?
So they did a study, like an 18-month-long study that looked at kind of our growth and how we need to be planning for that. And by 2055, they think we're going to need a courthouse, basically at least twice as big.
Where would they build a new courthouse? I mean, the downtown square is pretty packed.
They would need about 8 acres if they were to combine everything in one place. So they're going to start looking at that, but it's very, very early, so they don't really know.
And is this a for sure thing?
One of the judges basically said they are already full. They are full right now. Mm-hmm. They do need the money for it, and they're going to be putting that in the SPLOST ballot, or like on the ballot in November for a SPLOST, which is a special purpose local option sales tax. So the county administrator, Zach Probst, said that they may actually have to issue some debt in order to make it happen quickly enough. But between taking on some debt and SPLOST money, they would be looking to move forward with this. It's not a definite deal, but I can't imagine that they don't do it.
How long right now do people have to wait to be seen? Like how backlogged are they for space?
I don't know that, but I can tell you as a reporter who goes to the courthouse fairly frequently, parking is sparse. You often have to park at the very top of the parking deck, and sometimes even then there aren't that many spots.
It is the 5th busiest in the state. As far as when cases go to trial, there's so many factors that influence that. I don't know how much space is a factor. Maybe that's something that our court reporter, Nick Watson, can look into. Someone here won $2 million in the Mega Millions lottery.
What? In Gainesville?
I think it was a Gainesville resident, yes.
Oh my gosh. So jealous. Where was the winning ticket sold?
They actually purchased it on the lottery's mobile app, which...
Okay, I do that all the time. Yeah.
I didn't know that was a thing. But
It's so convenient.
yeah, that makes buying lottery tickets pretty convenient.
Yeah.
Which everything today is convenient.
What would you guys do with $2 million?
I think I would probably invest at least half of it and then eventually maybe buy a second home in the mountains, maybe buy a lake home in my neighborhood.
Yeah, I think I would
Nothing
take a
too
mortgage
crazy.
out on a first home. I'd probably pay
Yeah,
off
for sure.
my mom's home and then invest a good portion of it and then maybe go on some cool vacations.
Yeah, I mean, $2 million sounds like a lot, but if I were going to buy a lake home, I mean, that's gone.
Right.
That's all the money.
For me, most of it would probably be spent right away. $2 million is a huge amount of money and it would be life-changing, but it's not hard to spend. Like, when you talk about paying off people's houses, like, I would for sure do that for my parents.
Wish these were my problems. Ben, you're publishing something on a few laws that are taking effect actually tomorrow.
Yeah, we're putting together a list of some of the laws that take effect and some of the laws that will affect Hall County.
So what are some of the big ones?
So I'm the education reporter, so I know most about some of the education laws. I think the one that people might be most familiar with is the law banning biological males from playing in female sports. That's obviously been kind of a hot button issue in the so-called culture wars that we're in.
Yeah, I know there's going to be strong opinions on either side of the aisle, but is that really an issue here in Hall County?
The school leaders I've spoken with say they can't even think of one instance where a boy or a man has played in a female sport. So it doesn't seem to be an issue here, but it still has very broad support among our legislators.
And this actually means that like a girl can't participate in boys' sports, a boy can't participate in girls' sports, and then you do actually have some co-ed sports.
So what are some of the other things that relate to the education system?
So one of the other laws that's going to go into effect is a ban on cell phones. This only applies to kindergarten through 8th grade. So when you're in class, no cell phones.
As far as the state law, I know our neighboring Forsyth County, I believe, is doing it all the way up through high school. And are we clear at this point what Hall County is going to do? Like definitely elementary and middle school?
Yeah, so I actually texted the school board chairman right before we sat down for this podcast, and he said that they haven't come up with any specific policy for high schoolers. They just know that they're going to restrict it in some way. My bet, if I had to guess, is they're not going to restrict it bell to bell. It probably won't be as restrictive as for elementary kids and middle schoolers, but they'll do something to limit them. And you know, this won't have much effect in the Gainesville school system because they already basically banned cell phones for elementary kids and middle school kids.
We know that the state law is taking effect July 1st. Obviously, school starts, I know it's August 1st for Hall County. I don't know Gainesville off the top of my head.
Roughly around
the same time.
Yeah.
So they'll have to kind of lock down exactly how they're going to implement it. And we've talked some about this on the podcast already. I imagine we'll talk more about it once the school year's starting.
Yeah, I mean, the phrase in the law is bell to bell, but that can be interpreted in different ways. Does that mean you can't access them in the hallways? Does that mean you only can't, you have to put them away just during class? So I don't think it's going to be uniform throughout the state. There will probably be some variation among schools.
What are some of the other new laws taking effect?
Okay, so we have this other law that basically says no matter how many days of school a kid misses, they can't be expelled. Now, if you miss 5 or more days, the parents can still be fined. I don't know what that fine would be, but there might still be some kind of punishment. Now, schools, this isn't just, hey, you can miss as many days as you want and you won't be expelled. Schools now have to submit a report basically saying, hey, this is how we're addressing chronic absenteeism. And this is a particular problem in Gainesville City schools.
Why is that?
We have a lot of immigrant students, and sometimes they come into the school system and stay for a little bit and then leave, or maybe kids have to support their family, and so they're working jobs while they're going to high school. So those are some of the reasons.
So they're not like pulling their enrollment, but they're still on the rolls but not showing up because they've moved on to something else.
I know that transportation can be a big issue too. Hypothetically, if you don't have a parent that is there actively maybe say they're at work. They're not there to get the child up in the morning. They miss the bus. You've just lost your ride to school.
It wasn't until I started covering this school system, particularly Gainesville, that I saw kids being taken to school in taxis. I mean, I never saw that when I was growing up, and it's not all that uncommon here.
There's so many different situations as to why a student might miss. Putting that aside, I don't think that expulsion is the right answer. So I think this is a good move.
Yeah, obviously state leaders decided it wasn't a good answer. That story and any of the other ones we've talked about on the show today are at the link in our show notes. And if you've got a news tip or question, you can email us at podcastadmin@GainesvilleTimes.com. Join us again next week and invite your friends. Hope you all have a happy Independence Day.